Humans of the cardboard, welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today we've got another sweet piece of Yu-Gi-Oh! News from the new upcoming set, Cyberstorm Access. We've actually got a new ALBAZ fusion. These are always exciting. We've had a lot of like weird mid ones, but lately we've been getting some very interesting ones. I know there's Grand Guignol, which is technically a Cartesia fusion coming in Photon Hypernova, but that card's pretty crazy. I think we'll see that card in a couple of decks. We'll talk about that later on, but yeah, as far as today, we're looking at Albion the Incandescent Dragon, which is very, very hype. It's a light dragon fusion, obviously. It seems to be potentially Ecclesia turning into a dragon. I don't know. I honestly don't follow the lore from this stuff all that much. If there's ever a lore that I like really, really like, I'll look into it. The ALBAZ Ecclesia lore has not been it for me. So, but yeah, this card is pretty cool. Let's get into it. Starting off here, we have Albion the Incandescent Dragon, level 8 Light Dragon, Fusion Effect Monster, 3k 2500, so big and beefy. Its materials are Fallen of ALBAZ, plus a Light Spellcaster. Very interesting. This is one of the much more specific materials than normal. I mean, you look at the other Albion, is just any light. The other Lubellion, just any dark. Those are obviously like super, super generic, whereas this card just sits here needing a light spellcaster, so very specific, well, not very specific, but more specific there, but we'll look at the materials there as well. Cannot be used as fusion material. That's another interesting thing about this card, and you can only use its second and third effects once per turn. The first effect reads, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. It's actually pretty nice on a 3k body like this card. This card's already halfway to Avermax on top of its other effects, which is pretty good. Yeah, we'll take that. Second effect, during your opponent's turn, you can target 2 monsters in the graveyards, yours or your opponent's. Special summon both monsters, 1 on each field. Wow, that is something. That's a pretty crazy effect. So keep in mind this is a quick effect and it's only on the opponent's turn, so we're not extending on our turn, but this is still a pretty powerful effect, all things considered. Reborning anything. You could steal something from your opponent's grave if it's pretty impactful for you. There's no negated effects here. Obviously, the whole goal here would be give your opponent something meh, while giving yourself something pretty dang good. That's really good, and I also like that there's no restriction on this. It doesn't have to be light and darks. Doesn't have to be, you know, specific, like extra deck monsters, anything like that. It's anything, which means you can give your opponent something like an Ash Blossom, a Veiler, just like a dead hand trap, while giving yourself like ALBAZ, right? Like quick reborning ALBAZ on your opponent's turn. Pretty good. There's a bunch of other, obviously, uses for this, but obviously this is just a generic quick effect reborn. There's going to be a lot of different ways to use it, but ALBAZ is definitely one of the better ones. And the third effect, if this card is in the graveyard, you can tribute 4 monsters in the EMZ and each player's center main monster zone, and if you do, special summon this card. So there would have to be a monster in both extra monster zones and a monster in yours as well as your opponent's middle monster zone, and you have to tribute all 4 to special summon this card. I don't expect that effect to come up. I mean, especially in the regards of 1, this card has to be correctly summoned anyway, so no just sending this card and then bringing it back later. And 2, just especially if you're in any sort of competitive scene, if your opponent just reads this card, they're going to go, oh, I'm just going to not summon to those zones. Like if you're on a link deck, you might have to summon to the EMZ, but then just try not to summon to the middle zone. I don't know. There's just like so many ways to play around this effect. I feel like with how fluid, specifically extra decks are for Yu-Gi-Oh! In modern day, that I just don't think this will be that big of an issue. It's a funny effect, but not the main effect for sure. I think both of the first 2 effects are plenty good enough on their own, especially since this card can just be summoned straight off of Branded Fusion, which, you know, obviously is going to have some power here. But yeah, really, really strong. Yeah, that's the main coverage of this card. It's really good. Let's look at some of the light spellcasters, though. I just want to note some of these. These are the best ones that I saw, and obviously we could, at any point, get more light spellcasters to make this look better. Blazing Cartesia, the Virtuous. This is one of the more interesting ones because it's searchable off of Branded and High Spirits, so there's your light spellcaster. That's pretty dang searchable. Also, you could send it off of like the first, you know, send of like branded fusion with ALBAZ and then like banish this and ALBAZ will return them to get to the new guy. Very cool as well. And also this card has recursion. So yeah, another good target, by the way, to also reborn on the opponent's turn, just to give you another quick fusion. It's cool. Ecclesia, reborn it, get a search, whether it's fleur-de-lis for an interruption on the opponent's turn or follow up in the form of like Maximus or, punishment. Obviously that works as well, but definitely another good light spellcaster. Fairy Tale Luna is just a compulse, so being able to use this and then just reborn it is pretty good, especially if you can like normal summon this card, search a second Luna, use like the second Luna in hand to be the fusion material, and then reborn the second Luna on the opponent's turn. That way you could get both up and have like both compulse effects live. It's pretty good, I think. Fairy Tale Snow, this one's banned now in the TCG, so I don't expect it to be good, but if down the line Konami does decide to release this card, this is a pretty crazy one for sure, just to keep in mind. It's a light spellcaster, so yeah. Incredible Ecclesia, the Virtuous, this is another interesting one because this card contribute itself to special summon from deck, hand or deck, a Sword Soul or a Fallen of ALBAZ. So you could get ALBAZ straight out of the deck, or you could just straight up get the Iris Sword Soul to be an interruption. Or a draw too, like there's still value there. So definitely another interesting one. It's also a level 4 tuner, which could come up. It's very interesting as well. It also has the float, so pretty cool. Jalgan the Spiritualist. Now we're talking about legit end board pieces where you just use this card. You just literally activate Branded Fusion, send ALBAZ plus Jalgan, and then on your opponent's turn, you're able to reborn the Jalgan and something your opponent doesn't care about. And then if they can't beat over this card, they're just probably going to lose the duel right there. You've already got a 3k beater up. And then if they can't clear the 3k beater, even if they clear Jalgan, you just keep reborning it every one of their turns. It's pretty annoying. Then the last two are just Perform Age Damage Jugular, and Trick Clown, just two generic good light spellcasters with effects engraved, so being able to send them straight from the deck for Branded Fusion, just gets you another body on the field of Trick Clown, or just gets you a search for another Perform Age monster if you want. So pretty interesting, but kind of bricky, obviously. So kind of depends. But those were worth noting, I felt like, overall. But yeah, those are all the light spellcaster targets. Really, really interesting card, guys. I want to know your thoughts, though, down below. I'm not a branded player, but I think this card's really, really interesting. So let me know in the comment section down below your overall thoughts on this card. Is there anything else I missed as far as its application in whether it's branded or some other decks? I don't know. Please let me know in the comment section down below, but I will obviously be bringing you more news as anything drops for Cyberstorm Access in the next 2-ish weeks probably. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Peace.